some alpha on Twitter that Dime is gonna be listed on Hyperliquid.
Yep.
And are you gonna list on any other exchanges? Can you tell us something about it?
We really thought long and hard about this, and it really came down to a couple things. One is like, where's the attention today, right? And like it's been very clear to me, and I'm sure I think you feel this in some way as well, that most of the attentions that have actually shifted away from the centralized exchanges, which is like we did speak to a few, but then we were like, well, hold on a minute, like this doesn't really align with our whole vision. We're pushing this idea that like, hey, we are this new alternative financial system. And then for us to then say we're building that and then just go list on kind of like the existing rails that we're trying to replace, that just philosophically, that number one, that didn't kind of like align with us. So we said fine. And then what kind of like really tipped us in the other direction is the fact that not only is this number one true, but also the mind share today, or the attention today, is all kind of in the DEX space, right? It's growing so rapidly, specifically Hyperliquid. So if like the marginal trader is there, then we should be listing where the attention is, right? And so we're like, look, this philosophically aligns with like our ethos of what we're trying to bring to the world. So number one, that checks that box, and number two is this also is true from an attention standpoint, that that's where the attention is. So of course, we want to be where the attention is, right? And not to mention, it is ultimately the cost and the signal to the community, which is like, hey, let's say, for example, we listed on Binance. The community automatically assumes that you're paying, I don't know, some ungodly amount of percentage of token supply to gain that distribution, only in return to find out that all the Binance Alpha users or whatever, they dumped you, right? So again, we think, that's another kind of like thing against listing on a centralized exchanges. And so we said, you know what, it doesn't make sense. And I actually think more projects will do this going forward, right? Because again, for all these same reasons, right? Especially if we're saying we're building a part of this new financial system, and you're an integral part of this, then why would you list on the legacy system? It doesn't make sense.
Agreed. And I think most of the attention that centralized exchanges are getting is negative nowadays.
Correct. Yeah.
They don't really stand out in a good way anymore. So
Correct. Yeah.
why would you want to be there? And I really like the decentralized philosophy.
Correct.
And and listing on Hyperliquid, that's, I mean, like it was a surprise for me. Like I saw that, I was like, damn,
So
I really like that.
But we've never really shied away from doing things that are new, right? Like we've done so many things, like perpetual options, privacy, XP transfers. Like if it makes sense, we will do it, right? We're very driven by, does the idea make sense, and does it add value to us and the community? And if it does, then we're going to go ahead with it, right? And I'm very sure that like you will see this trend kind of just accelerate. Now that being said, I don't want to kind of like paint this picture that like all legacy rails is like bad distribution, right? Because ultimately it's a distribution play, right? Getting listing on the right platforms makes sense, because you want more people in the world to sort of see and get access to your token, right? So it's just that the legacy rails in our world, which is all the centralized exchanges, the Binance, etc., they have this like negative taint of like, number one, it's too extractive. Two is, most likely it's like net negative for the token, because, these people just end up dumping. Now that's not the same for other centralized platforms that are, think of all these neobanks, for example, right? In Europe and in the States, they have amazing distribution, and, maybe those other bad things that come with all the centralized exchanges, that's not true for them, right? But they have real users, and that's unique distribution, and we want those real users to be to ultimately get exposure to Dime, right? So we think that so we're having those conversations as well, right? So it's like it's not all CeFi players and CeFi distribution is bad. Right?
It's not black and white.
It's not black and white, right? It's the devil's in the details, and it's really nuanced. So again, we look at everything on a case by case basis. If a distribution makes sense and it's net value, accretive to us and the community, then yeah, we will do it, right? And so yes, we're thinking long and hard, and I'm hoping we can see some really unique source of distribution soon.